Hello and welcome to Pulse of Culture. I'm Salia Strzemska. It was the art exhibition of the decade for the National Museum in Warsaw. Visitors lined up around the block till the very last day to witness landscapes and bucolic scenes by Józef Chełmoński, one of the greatest Polish realist painters of the mid-19th century. With over 200,000 attendees, it was the museum's most popular show in recent memory.
I want to see Chełmoński how it was. I understand there are not only pictures from National Museum in Warsaw, there are also from others, from Krakow, from Poznań. So I think it will be interesting.
On the brew paint, so that's why I'm here.
To explain this incredible popularity of Józef Chełmoński's exhibition, we speak with Professor Agnieszka Lajus, renowned Polish art historian and director of the National Museum. Hello and welcome. Delighted to have you with us. Thank you for joining.
Good afternoon.
So let's start with perhaps the most iconic painting by Chełmoński, the Indian Summer. Why is it so iconic? What's so special about it? And sort of what can we see by looking at it?
First of all, it's just a beautiful painting with a sense of space and light, and a beautiful image of a peasant woman in dreams. And also that painting was very popular in 1875 because it was a source of a big scandal in Warsaw when the painting was on display at the Society of Encouragement of Fine Arts in Warsaw. The public was disgusted with the bare feet of the young woman. So the artist was accused of the vulgar taste, and afterwards he left Warsaw for 12 years, and he spent these years in Paris.
And was it because of that controversy around the painting and the sort of the public reaction to it? That's
yes,
why
he was disgusted with the conservative taste of the Warsaw public. But beside, of course, it was the beginning of his international career, because in Paris he could also collaborate with renowned merchant Goupil and sell his paintings. And he collaborated as well with famous magazines in Paris as the illustrator.
Right, and sort of one of the main subjects, right, I mean, he concentrated on were the paintings on horses, I mean, of horses, well, in Paris, right? So why was this so popular back then? What's about horses that made them so special?
Oh, first of all, his compositions were very dynamic. Secondly, he could paint very well the space, and those landscapes were depicting Ukraine, those territories which were once a part of the Commonwealth of two nations. So for the Western public, it was a kind of exotic subject, very interesting, very picturesque. And what is interesting as well, that Chełmoński loved to paint a kind of gray heaven, gray sky, the mud, winter, so something what is not very beautiful, but at the same time it started to be a kind of his mark, let's say, brand.
Right, these moody landscapes, of course, but I mean, this is what made him popular back then, right? But what makes him popular now? Because as we've heard, 200,000 visitors came to the exhibit. So why was it so popular?
I think there are many reasons of the popularity. First of all, we are more sensitive for the climate and ecology subjects. So we love to see the savage nature and the beauty of of nature that he depicted. Secondly, I think after the new change in humanities, the turn, the interest in folk traditions, we look through the new perspective also at his paintings. And he loved to depict the real peasants, the real countryside. So it was not ideal. He could show also the inequality and the ugliness and the poverty.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because some of these images are quite difficult for the viewer, for the audiences, right? I mean, we've mentioned the dirty feet at the very beginning, right, in the Indian summer, and of course then we have peasants outside of on the streets, right, oftentimes among dirt. Don't you think that this is quite difficult for the audience to look at, right? It's not a pleasant sight in a sense.
I would say the opposite, because we used to look at our traditions through the eyes of the nobleman. And finally, thanks to the new books, the new scientific approaches, we can see also our culture, our identity through the real peasants, and the majority of the Polish society were the peasants, the people. So Chełmoński shows the truth about the culture. And the other reason is just he's a great painter, very skillful, and a great observer of animals, of horses, of birds. So I think the young public is also very interested in that aspect of his painting.
This is very interesting indeed, because also his, he went through different periods, right? I mean, in his painting. So when he came back from Paris, when he came back from France, he started painting nature, right, around his house in the countryside, right? So what made these paintings so special? Because, I mean, they seem quite obvious. Of course, we have nice light and, you know, it's all pretty. But, I mean, what's the added meaning, the added value?
Yes, at the end of his life, after the long stay in Paris in 1888, he settled at a small village at Kuklówka, at the Mazovia region. And he loved just to wander and look at the nature and to show the pure nature, just the birds and fields. And he loved to observe the real nature. So he also tried to emphasize the mystical part of the nature, like his religious attitude is visible in that image of nature. During his stay in Paris, he could see also the Impressionist painting, so we can recognize that lesson of plein air painting and beautiful light, although he has never been an Impressionist. We can also find some aspect of symbolism in his late painting, so that's really a kind of evolution of his work.
Right, because he went through that phase when he was painting crosses, right? He turned to this, towards religiosity, more religious zeal, one could say even. But what I wanted to ask you about is his biography, because I think it's sort of an integral part of who he was as a person, a painter, but also a person. So, so what kind of man was Chełmoński?
Oh, strong personality, that's very certain. He was in a friendship with many painters, also with his teacher, Wojciech Gerson, a Warsaw professor, and he had many colleagues with, for example, with Stanisław Witkiewicz. He opened a studio in the European Hotel in Warsaw, but he had also very difficult relationship with his wife. He limited the contacts.
Left him, right, ultimately?
Yes, she left him, and he limited the contact with the daughters who stayed with him. So from the contemporary perspective, especially from the feminist perspective, it is evaluated very badly. But that those were the conditions of the 19th century.
Shall we cancel Chełmoński because of how he was towards women?
Excuse me?
Shall we cancel him because of the way he was towards women, or?
No, we shouldn't cancel anybody, because many artists had many social and private problems. So I think we should appreciate his painting. The exhibition is to appreciate his work, not his biography.
Right, so there should be this separation, right? I mean, that's what some would argue. But speaking about appreciation, let's talk about money a little bit, because I actually took a look at some of the prices that his works managed to get at auctions. And I'm quite surprised, because this was the most popular exhibit at the National Museum in recent time, right? But at the same time, his works, I mean, some of them sold below the estimate, right? Whereas like painters such as Malczewski and others, of course, usually would sell above the estimate. So what is the reason for this? Was the exhibit popular? Not necessarily, but perhaps people not necessarily want to have Chełmoński's works at home. What's going on here?
Oh, it's very complicated. The market has its own regulations, but I think after that exhibition, his prices will will rise. And I know that abroad there was an auction in Stuttgart a few years ago. The price was quite high. He's maybe not so known abroad, but in general the Polish art is a little underestimated abroad. So thanks to this kind of exhibitions and catalogs in English, the Polish art will be more famous in Europe and in the world.
Of course, we're not giving out investment advice, but if someone wanted to invest in art, that might be a good idea. Let's just put it at that. Now, just my last question, of course, would be about environment and sort of modern trends, because you also worked with an environmental activist, Adam Wajrak, to make this exhibit more popular. So why is it so important for modern audiences? Do people care about environment more than they used to?
Yes, I think so. We see that also at the National Museum in Warsaw. We talk about the climate changes and how the museum can react to the changes, how we should think about the future policy in that respect. So for sure, for the young people, Adam Wajrak is a known person, a kind of authority, let's say. So we are surprised that this 19th century traditional painter attracted so many young visitors.
And of course, it's a good thing, because it's a part of their Polish legacy and heritage, of course. But so my last question, and I need a very brief answer. Your favorite painting by Chełmoński is?
Oh, it's difficult to say, but I like the late paintings with a pure landscape, with the birds, for example, which remind me a little also of the Japanese woodcuts.
Agnieszka Lajus, thank you so much for being with us. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Pulse of Culture. Please stay tuned for more here on TVP World.